For the Sumerians, Eridu was an important place because it was there that royalty descended from heaven, as they assert, and that was the first settlement on which a centralized state was instituted. Most likely, in Sumerian times, the city would be linked to the estuary by channels, and according to the Babylonian epics, it would have been the first city created in the world. I had not grown a cane. A tree was not created. A house had not been made. A city had not been made. And the lands were Mar. When Eridu was created. Eridu was the most southern city of the conglomerate of Mesopotamia, an important center of cult to the god of the water, Enki. According to the Sumerian tradition, Eridu was the oldest of the cities of Mesopotamia, in whose location the god Marduk had created the world. The antiquity of the city was demonstrated by the archaeologists throughout century XX, having dated the lowest levels of the excavation around the 4900 AC, at the beginning of the Obeid period. Towards 3800 AC the city had an important temple and a cemetery from which 1,000 graves have been discovered. The city participated in the cultural unit marked by the Obeid period, which encompassed the entire Middle East. At the end of this period, signs of decline are shown. Eridu was being eclipsed by the neighboring city of Ur. In Eridu, Alulim became king. He ruled for 28,800 years. Alaljar ruled for 36,000 years. 2 kings ruled for 64,800 years. Then Eridu fell and the reign was given to Bad Tibera. One of the cosmogonies of Sumerian mythology, now called Edigu's cosmogony, says that the primordial matter of the universe was formed by the sweet and salty waters, personified in Apsu and Tiamat, who will give birth to heaven and earth, which, in turn, they would engender all the great gods. Another myth of Eridu was that Oedipa, guardian of the city, was one of the 7 sages, to whom the Sumerian tradition attributed extraordinary powers. He was a mortal of divine lineage, and like the Greek heroes, he stood between the threshold of the 2 worlds. On one occasion, when fishing in the lake, the wind overturned his boat, after which the wise man cursed against the wings of the wind, leaving him paralyzed for 7 days. At this, Anu, god of heaven, calls the guilty to judge him. Before Oedipa appears before him, Enki prepares him, warning him to be humble and not accept anything that is offered. Finally Oedipa appears before Anu and he offers him the food of life that gives his power to the gods. The wise one rejects it, following the advice of Enki, before which Anu sends a sonorous laughter. If he had consumed the food of life, the effect on him would have been the opposite of that in the gods. The Sumerian royal list distinguishes an antediluvian period from another post-diluvian one, understanding that the antediluvian era was the one that developed in Eridu. In any case, this city was the most important in the Mesopotamian panorama and where the foundations of the Sumerian civilization were developed that after this catastrophic event were transferred to other cities such as Kish and Uruk. After the royalty descended from heaven, Eridu ruled. A divine origin is attributed to the monarchy. In the city of Eridu, Alulim governed Orate 8 Sars 28,800 years. Alalgar governed Orate 10 Sars 36,000 years. In summer 12 Sars 43,200. Enmes Gal Anna 8 Sars 28,800 years. Danuzi ruled 10 Sars 36,000 years. On Sipad Zid Anna governs 5 Sars 21,000 years. Ubara Tutukin ruled 4 Sars 18,600 years. Kurlan governed 28,800 years before the flood. Zinzudu or Ziasudra, the Sumerian No, who ruled 36,000 years until the flood. A story similar to the biblical flood. In the 3200 is when the great cataclysm appears that neighbors the earth at the end of the government of Ziasudra. In the dynasty there is a king with the name of Amaru, which means deluge. These are the 10 Sumerian kings who ruled Eridu. 10 are also the antediluvian patriarchs. After the flood was over and the royalty that came down from heaven passed to Kish. In this dynasty we already observe a decrease in the years of life. After the flood, life gradually becomes shorter. The flood negatively affected the longevity of life. The flood is recorded in Genesis chapters 6 to 9, but also a considerable number of Babylonian manuscripts describe similar events, the Epic of Gilgamesh, Epic Atramasis, Baraso. In India, in the Hindu Vishnu Purana it is said, that Samvartaka will again destroy the universe as it happened in the past by causing torrential rains. In China tradition tells that Nuwash saved himself and his wife and 3 children and their wives in a boat and that they accommodated a couple of each animal, approximately in the 2300 BC. The Genesis of Eridu is a Sumerian text. It covers the creation of the world, the invention of cities and the flood. After the universe was created from the chaos of the sea, the gods evolved and in turn created humanity, animals, and cities. Cities and royalty has been created, but the gods decided to destroy humanity with a flood. Ziasudra, Upnapishtim, of Eridu was instructed by Enki, Ea, to build a ship to survive the flood sent by Enlil. After the flood he worshipped, prostrated, before Anu, and Enlil, Bel, and was given immortality for his pious life. The Genesis of Eridu describes the creation of man by the 4 great gods, the Anunnaki, one sky, the source of the rain and the most powerful of the gods, Enlil, lord of the wind, power in the growing time, creator of the Ho, Ninhursag, lady of the stony ground, the mother of the wild life, and Enki, rival of Ninhursag. After Ninhursag had decided to convert the man from his primitive nomadic stage to a camping area in front of the life of the city, this period began when animals prospered on the land and royalty descended from heaven. The first cities were built, they were named, they had measuring cups, emblems of a redistributive economic system, assigned to them, and it was divided among the gods. Irrigation agriculture developed and man thrived and multiplied. However, the noise produced by man in his settlements began to disturb Enlil deeply and, excited beyond resistance, they persuaded the other gods to take down man in a great flood. Enki, thinking quickly, found a way to warn his favorite, Ziasudra. He told him to build a ship to survive the flood with his family and representatives of the animals. Thorkild Jacobson, The Treasures of Darkness. Next, a Sumerian text. Drop the house, build a boat. Resign to possessions, seek life. Belongings open, keep the soul live. On board of the boat you will make the seed of all the living beings. That ship you will build. Your dimensions will be to measure. The story of the creation and the flood has been very influential. Among the texts that were inspired by it are the Epic of Atrahasis, 11 Babylonian tablet of the Epic of Gilgamesh, Baraso, the biblical story of the flood, and several Greek and Roman sources, such as Ovid. The translation of the Genesis of Eridu that is offered here is an adaptation of a translation made by Thorkild Jacobson. It begins after a long silence, in which the creation of man must have been described.